Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. I have the new fall romance palette to try out today and play around with. I am feeling the fall vibes. Every new release that we get, I'm just like, yes, bring on all of the fall makeup. But I'm excited to dive into this. So if you want to see what I think about this palette and what look I create, then definitely keep on watching. Here is the palette right here, and I don't know if you can see, but it is textured, which I love. This reminds me of the soft glam packaging as well as the modern renaissance packaging. It's kind of like luxury feel of the packaging is what I wanted the Cosmos palette to give. Now this palette retails for $55, and I want to feel like the packaging down to the shades and the formula, everything is worth $55. And with the Cosmo palette, I felt like the packaging was such a missed opportunity. But this, it's giving luxe. So let's take a look at the color story. I went ahead and already did swatches for you guys. I'm gonna pop them up on the screen. I just feel like the phone camera really shows you all of the reflex of all the shades and how they look. So I just think the shades look really beautiful swatched out. Only shade that I just really don't like and I don't really see myself using is this shade right here. It's called Ember, and it's a brown with like gold and orange sparkle specks in it. I just don't like that shade. It's very sultry and it goes very deep. I have no idea what look I want to create with this. I just want to play around and just see what happens. So let's get into it. I really want to play with the purples, but I'm kind of thinking, I'm like, what color could I pair with the purples? I feel like I have to like maybe pair one of the greens together. I think I want to do something really dramatic. I kind of have been loving doing like the cut crease, like the floating cut crease. I feel like when I do looks like that, I can use a lot of the shimmers. I don't know, this color story is just so different. I just wouldn't pair these tones together. You know what, let's just go for it. Let's start off with the shade Twilight. And I'm really looking to see if this formula is like their newer formula that I love. So I'm gonna start off with Twilight in the crease, and automatically you can see how pigmented, you can see just how pigmented this look is. So basically the baseline of looks like this is you're just going to take a pencil type of brush and you're just gonna sketch out where you want this crease to go. You're just gonna build from there. So I'm just gonna go in with more and just intensify this. They did include 2 greens in this palette, and I do feel like they kind of look very similar, but I probably am gonna see how this looks on the eye as well, just to blend out this green shade that I put down. But wow, I love how deep this is. I love when there's shadows in a palette where you don't have to work hard to really get the color to show up. Those are just, it's just the best. Let's take Thorns and see if there's really a difference. I do feel like this one has a little bit of glitter specks, but they're not big. So let's see how Thorn looks blending out this. I mean, it's subtle, but I feel like these shades are just way too similar. But I can use it to blend out that first shade, that first green that I put down. So I'm thinking I might take, this kind of has, there's a lot of shades in this palette where they kind of have like that satiny kind of finish to them. And I'm not a fan of the satiny kind of finish. Let's try this. Let's try a little bit of this shade. It's very light, so I don't know if I'm gonna like this shade. Okay, we can use it. I feel like that shade kind of helps to soften the edges, so I'm not mad at it. Not mad at that. Okay, it looks crazy now, but trust me, I'm taking some P. Louise base. I like to use the shade 2 because it's a lighter base. I need concentration, so I'm just going to follow the crease that I have. Just like that. Ooh, I love looks like these. They're so dramatic, but I love them. And I'm just basically going to fill in the entire lid with that base. Now we're gonna go in with the fun part, which I feel like is the shimmers. I will say, I think that this palette could have used more variation with the mattes. A lot of the shades have like, I don't know if you can see, but if I hold it like this a little bit, you can see that there's like a little bit of a sheen on this green and this shade. I just wish that those were true mattes because, you know, we don't need the sheen. I'm thinking I want to start off with the lightest shimmer, which is this really beautiful purple. It has such a gorgeous like reflect to it. So I'm going to take this shade in the inner corner. I think this is going to look beautiful right here. To start this look off, I might take my finger. This shade does feel a little bit dry in the pan. It's not as creamy of a shade. I feel like my camera's kind of like washing it out. You can't really see the true color of this. But I don't know. I feel like it's not, yeah, in person it looks different than it does on the camera. Then I want to go into this shade called Divine. I feel like I just have to go in with Divine. Yeah, this one also feels really dry. I think I'm going to kind of like mix Divine a little bit with that first shade. Oh, that's gorgeous. That is pretty. I'm just going to pop Divine right here. I'm going to go back into that shade Moonlight, and I'm just going to kind of go on top with this shade, just to kind of mix the two together to see if that gives me something. Ooh, I kind of like those two layered. That looks kind of pretty. Having this in person, I don't feel like this is the most cohesive palette. I don't know. It's interesting. It's very, very interesting. I think I want to go in with, let's see, we have this shade. Don't know about that one. We have this one called Smoke. Don't know about that. Let's take Midnight. I feel like we can go in with Midnight, which is this one right here. Let's see what Midnight does. Now this one feels a lot softer. Oh yeah, I like Midnight. Midnight feels softer. This is the ABH formula that I like. It's softer pressed, and it really does pack a punch. I just feel like those first two shimmers were very dry. Even though this really beautiful purple, which I think is probably the most eye-catching shade in this palette in my opinion, is not really a true shimmer. It's more of like a satin, whereas this Moonlight shade is more of like a shimmer topper. I do like these three purples together though. I think those are beautiful. Now I need to figure out what I want to put on the end. I'm going to take this leather shade right here, and I'm going to pop, do we like that? Pop this here. Interesting. Very interesting. I just needed something a little bit lighter, but I don't know if that's giving what I thought I wanted it to give. I don't think I like that. Let's try the shade Mulberry. Let's take Mulberry and let's see if this is, you know, Mulberry's kind of better. Oh, okay. I think I like Mulberry better for what I was trying to do. I just felt like this was too dark, but next to that green, it's not that bad. This is truly not my favorite look that I've ever done, but I honestly feel like that's because of what's in this palette. I do not like this look. I'm gonna go back into Moonlight, and I think I'm just going to take Moonlight over like that. I don't know how I feel about this. I feel like for what I want it to do, it didn't really work out, but let me just clean this up a bit back here. This needs a graphic liner. Yeah, graphic liner makes everything better. Absolutely. All right. The graphic liner helped this look big time. This is why I love graphic liner. This is my thing. Graphic liner, it's my thing. So I just went in with the Suva Beauty UV Grunge palette, and I took like this dirty white green. It's not really white. It kind of has like a green undertone to it. I kind of want to do a little down at the bottom, but like, should I do that or should I leave it alone? Ooh, do I want to do a little down there? Ooh, I might. You know what? Let me do it. I can always take it away if I don't like it. Once the lashes and everything comes on, the look is going to come together. But without this graphic liner, I just was not feeling the eye look at all. But I really do think that it has truly come together. Right, here is the finished makeup look. I have some thoughts. I'm looking very glowy today because I use a lot of glowy products. But yeah, let's talk about this palette because I wish that I had better thoughts than what I'm about to say, but I honestly just think that this color story, I just feel like this color story is just not for me. I love how deep that this palette goes. I love the depth level that we get in this palette finally, but I just feel like this color story is not as cohesive as I feel like it could have been. I feel like we did not need two greens in this palette. I also feel like this is one of those palettes that would have really benefited from more mattes than shimmers. Now, if we were comparing this palette with the Cosmos palette, which was their last palette that they released, this one has a lot of shimmers in here. I feel like these shimmers really do serve the Cosmo palette, whereas in this palette, I just feel like we could have used more mattes for more variation. Even if they had just did an entire row of mattes and an entire row of shimmers, I feel like that would have been great as well. A lot of the mattes have like this satiny kind of sheen to them where they don't look like true mattes, and I feel like it kind of, and you can kind of see that on the eye. I don't really like the tones of the mattes that they chose with these shimmers. I feel like the only matte that I feel like really does work the best is this brown shade, Crimson, and one of the greens, but I feel like we didn't need these two right here. These two could have been something else. Maybe a deep purple, like a plum would have been perfect, to really round out this palette. I just feel like something is missing in this palette. Not only that, I do feel like most of the shimmers in this palette are pressed harder to where you really have to work your finger in them. Like this shade Fireside, really have to work your finger in there. And the shade Moonlight, I feel like this is more of like that eyeshadow kind of topper. Not get me started with this Ember shade because I feel like we did not need this shade in this palette. I do really like the shade Divine. It's more of a satiny kind of shade. I really feel like that shade took my look to the next level. I feel like it really did bring the look together. But as far as the palette as a whole, I'm just a little bit disappointed. I feel like the formulas in this palette are not as good as the formulas that are in the Cosmo palette. I just love how softer pressed these are. Like, they just feel different and more buttery and creamy. I just feel like the Cosmos palette is more well-rounded. Side note, I am trying out a new setting powder, so that video will be up next after this one. And when I first tried it, I liked it, but now after trying it and wearing it, I don't think that I like it. So yeah, you'll see what powder I'm talking about in the next video. I don't want to give it away too early because it's gonna be weird because I already filmed that video and that was my first impressions, and now how I feel about it is how I feel after trying it out a couple more days. So you'll see. I just feel like it's just not very flattering. None of the newer palettes from ABH are coming close to as good as this one. This is the Primrose, and this one's my favorite palette from them. I just feel like this color story is so cohesive, and I just love everything about this palette. That's my thoughts on the new ABH Fall Romance palette. Definitely let me know what you guys think about this. Are you picking it up? Is it on your wish list? Do you love the color story? Let your girl know down below, and I'll catch you guys in my next one. Bye, guys.